What is up, fam? We are back with another episode of Boys Bet Ball, episode 17. 17 weeks, man. 17 episodes. That's actually kind of crazy, but we are back. And the show, it's deep in content today, but there's not a ton of content going on right now just because there's only really a few main sports. We just finished up with the Winter Olympics, which, to be honest, was pretty awesome. And the fact we'll talk about the hockey, but I think that's the most important part. No offense to the other sports, but I think the average person doesn't really care about most other sports. And then just like history, being made with the U.S. hockey team this Winter Olympics. And then we got basketball, of course, pro and college, which Spencer hates college basketball right now. You can only imagine why. And then I guess we could talk a little bit about baseball, and I'm sure Spencer has something to talk about tennis wise. But should we just start off with hockey?
Yeah. I mean, you asked and I didn't necessarily answer it. I set an alarm, but Pacific time, 5 a.m. Yeah, I woke up and they were celebrating.
Bro, this is like one of the biggest moments in like American history. Anyway, but yeah, it's just like it sucked the timing of it just because I want to say in like Italian time, whatever Italy time is, it's their closing ceremonies was at like 2:30 p.m. for some reason. I'm like, I get it, you got to appeal to like the worldwide audience, but at the same time, it's like, so they had to play the game before the closing ceremonies, and it just happened to be at 8 a.m. Eastern. So whoever was on the East Coast, it wasn't that bad. For me, it wasn't too bad. It was at like 7. So I did set an alarm. I did wake up. I woke up just in time for them to start playing. And then obviously West Coast is like 5 a.m. But there's a good amount of people on. And there's a guy I know in Utah. And so he's an hour behind me. And he was like, shout out to whoever was staying up late for the BYU game, which they played Iowa State and beat Iowa State. And then waking up the next morning to go watch the U.S. men's hockey team kick some Canadian tail, bald eagle over Canadian goose, which Spencer has some ties to Canada. I don't. So I can only imagine what all his friends in Canada are saying.
Yeah, I mean, they were saying you can't take our country. Trump saying, Canada's going to become the 51st state and you definitely can't take our sport. Well, took the latter. We'll have to be seen with the former, but
hey, if it became the 51st state, then you would have had gold.
Yeah, but I watched some of the highlights. I mean, I know what's his face, Connor McDavid, McJesus, won the Olympics MVP, and rightfully so with everything he did over the course of the Olympics. But our goalie, man,
Dude,
they had
Helly. What the Helly? Hella Cook or Cut. I don't even know how to say his name. It's like this weird, like probably like northeastern United States name, because that's where like all our hockey players come from, like the Midwest and then the Northeast, because no one anywhere where it's cold, they play hockey. But yeah, dude, he's the MVP of our team. Obviously, you have the Hughes brothers, the ones that hit the game-winning overtime shot against, what was it, Sweden, and then Jack Hughes with the overtime win over Canada. But yeah, you got to give the props to our goalie. Like, if we didn't, I want to say, like they say in hockey, like the most important position is your goalie, because it doesn't matter how many like goals you score, if you can't stop anyone, then you're not going to win.
Yeah, I mean, Jack, like me, he has a little bit of ties to Canada. Currently dating pop sensation Tate McRae, who is Canadian. So I'm sure she was pretty. What?
She did like a commercial promoting the U.S. Olympic team, and a bunch of Canadians got mad.
Yeah, so a little bit of conflict of interest, but I'm sure she and Jack celebrated that gold.
Nothing but the gold medal on.
Yeah, so
But did you bet on it at least? Come on, tell me you bet on it.
You know, we did the
Oh.
semifinal game, and that ended up being left a sore taste in my mouth. So
Well, because we bet the under. It was like the line was 5.5, so we took like 6.5, like semifinal game. Slovakia is like obviously not in par, and obviously you saw that, but the spread was like -3, and the puck line was -3.5. So literally
that was
for
just two and a half.
two and a half, but it was super juiced. It was like -130, which puck lines are similar to run lines in baseball. It's just like they have kind of weird prices to them, just because they don't score as much in baseball and hockey. Like it could be very skewed prices. So like -2.5 was -130, but then like -3.5 was like plus like 200 or something.
Yeah, and it just like it wasn't even close. I mean, the score ended up being 6-2.
Well, to be fair, like going like first period, it was 2-0 US. Second period, all the way to like the 7-minute mark of the second period, like no goals scored. So it was like 2-0 US, and then bang, US scores. And then hockey's one of those sports. It's like it's actually pretty likely that another goal is scored right after a goal. Um, I don't know necessarily the reason behind that, but they scored a goal at like the 7-minute mark, and then scored it again. So then it was like 4-0. And I told Spencer, I'm like, I think we might be cooked, because we had the under 6.5. And lo and behold, I think they scored another goal by the end of the period, and then Slovakia scored a couple goals, and yeah, it ended 6-2, I believe. How much did your friend lose? Probably a lot more than us.
on the 5.5.
Yeah,
He's the type of guy who will just throw out random stuff and place like $2 on it. So his opinion doesn't really matter. But it seemed logical. I mean, 5.5 seemed like it could end like 4-2. So I don't see that. I didn't see them scoring 2 goals. Being up. Were they up 5 or? I know they were up 5, but I don't know if they were up 6-0. I think they were up 6-0.
Yeah.
You eventually kind of, take your foot off the gas, and Slovakia got some 2 goals, but that wasn't my logic. Like they'd win 5-1 max, and we'd still be under 6.5. But it is what it is.
Yeah, unfortunately. So, yeah, but history in the making. Last time the U.S. men's hockey team won the World Cup, or not the World Cup, but a gold medal in the Winter Olympics was back in 1980. So it's been 46 years. That's literally like the Miracle movie was made about that, when we beat the Soviet Union. So 46 years, crazy history. So I had to watch it. I had to bet the U.S. plus 110, and I freaking cashed that baby. And it was so sick to watch, our flag at the top, right next to Canada, and what was it, Finland, and then playing our national anthem. It goes to prove all those Canadians that were like booing our national anthem before. Sucks to be a Canadian. It's pretty awesome to be a freaking American.
Yeah, I mean they just have been catching strays since October, with the Dodgers coming back in Game 7, and both their teams losing their sport, men's and women's. So
yeah. Oh, and I don't know if we even want to go into the fiasco about the men's.
Yeah, we just won't touch that one. I won't touch that one.
Yeah, just follow me on my personal Instagram, and you can hear my thoughts about that. Maybe I'll share it on X as well. But nonetheless, we cashed. Awesome to be American. And let's move on to college basketball, I guess. Man, the Big 12 is a gauntlet. I don't know if you've been playing college basketball, or I think you watched the game yesterday, but Houston with 3 straight losses. They obviously lost to Iowa State in Des Moines last week, and then they came back home, which they're perfect at home up until that point. Arizona come into town. No Koa Pete. I did bet the Arizona Wildcats, and Arizona kind of handled them pretty handily throughout that game. And then they go to Allen Fieldhouse against Kansas, all the drama going on with Darren Peterson and Bill Self and their whole team. Still a solid team, but a lot of drama going on. And they haven't lost 3 straight games. Do you know when was the last time they lost 3 straight games, Spencer?
I know they hadn't lost at home in like 40 straight games. So that's why I played them on Saturday? Who were they playing? No, it was even before then when they played Iowa State, I think. That's when they were home. But no, I don't know.
No, Iowa State was at Iowa State. They played Arizona at home.
Oh, yeah. Well, I played Houston Saturday too. But when was the last time they lost three straight games?
2017. That's
Sounds about
like
right.
9 years. And to be fair, like they've only been in the Big 12 for the past like 3 or 4 years, but still, past 9 years they haven't lost 3 straight. So I was on the freaking I was on the Cougs, at Allen Fieldhouse. Kansas is one of those super flip-floppy teams that they literally the game before at home they played this weird Cincinnati team, which I think Spencer actually bet on Kansas on that one, where Cincinnati won the game outright. It was the line was minus 10.5 for Kansas. And since he beat them outright, not only that, granted, it was kind of end of the game and they were just kind of pouring it on them at that point, but they won by 16 to a Cincy team. So that shows you obviously a bounce back spot for both teams. I liked my chances with Houston a lot more, but he kind of showed that, I don't know, Houston's inexperience. Their 2 best players are freshmen, and they played well in the first, relatively well at the beginning of the first half, but that second half, man, they can score a bucket, which kind of confirmed one of my big worries with Houston is at times they just can't really like score the ball, and they look super stagnant on offense. They kind of made a little bit of a comeback at the end, but it was just too little too late, and then they ended up losing by 13. And Darren Peterson, they actually played him extremely well. It's just more so Houston lost the game than Kansas won the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Darren Peterson shot like 4 for 13 or something, probably if not below 40, close to. Yeah, I think that's definitely below 40%. And yeah, I mean, you say Big 12's a gauntlet. I don't follow it as much as you, but it seems like throughout college basketball, especially with the NBA on their All-Star hiatus or All-Star break, looking for something to play, and you play college basketball, and all of a sudden, I know it wasn't Big 12, but last week UConn losing, were they at home? I don't know if they were home or away, but losing to a 500 Creighton.
Yeah. Yeah.
I played that, and then yeah. And then even on last Saturday, you had what people were calling the real Final Four, the top 4 teams playing. I think both underdogs won, right? Arizona
both
and
underdogs
Duke.
were on. Yeah, granted. Well, yeah, both underdogs did win. I mean, the Michigan one, like obviously, clearly Michigan should have been favored, but it was pretty even. The line I think was like Michigan minus 2.5 or 1.5. It was on a neutral court in DC, but yeah, I had that one. I doubled down on that one at halftime, so it lost, unfortunately. Yeah, Michigan I think is the better team, and I think they'll have more success in the postseason than Duke. And Duke is a really good team. Don't get me wrong; they're well deserved to be number 1 right now. But yeah, I doubled down on Houston last night as well, and I went 0-3 yesterday. I also had the Pistons in the Pistons Spurs matchup, which I thought was a really good bet. You got Jalen Duren back. You have the Pistons at home, the bad boy Pistons, reincarnation of them, and kind of the Spurs coming off a little bit of a high. They had a eight game win streak, but they're playing pretty garbage teams, and they finally play a really good team in Detroit. And yeah, dude, the game, well, that specific game, it was literally Spurs on fire from three. I want to say they shot like 40, above 45%. For up until halftime, they shot 50% from three. So I want to say they made close to 23s that game, which, I mean, if you make 23, any team makes 23s in a game and they're shooting like above 40%, then they're most likely going to win the game, no matter what, like how much Detroit, the Pistons can score. So that was kind of unfortunate. But yeah, 0-3 could be worse, but we got to claw our way back. We got to make my money back.
Yeah. So I don't know if you want to talk anything more about college basketball.
I mean, not a ton. I mean, we had on here like trapezoid excellence, but I mean, that's not my super forte. I mean, we can dissect it if you want to. If not, we can just move on to the NBA.
No, I mean I guess that's more just predicting who will win the March Madness, but
Yeah,
we're
it's kind of,
still a little less than a month out, so we'll
yeah, we
leave
still
that.
have like 2 weeks of normal regular season basketball, and then we'll go and get into the conference championships. So I think will be super fun to talk about. We can probably like Power Four conferences. We can like guess and predict. No, not guess, predict. Because we're smart about things. Who's going to win each conference and who's some dark horses to potentially win the conference tournaments. But yeah, we got a couple more weeks of regular season.
Yeah, I mean I guess a TLDR for college basketball the last week or so is just the dogs have been barking. Even BYU, our alma mater. Um, Dogs by what, 6.5, 7.5 on Saturday against Iowa State.
No, it was a lot closer. It was like 2.5.
Oh, I think, yeah, you're right. It was just 2.5 because I don't know. It's hard to play at the Marriott Center. And yeah, AJ DeBanza, maybe the new number one overall pick, played the
Yeah,
whole game,
I think
almost
he's
had a
definitely
triple
worthy.
double.
Yeah, I think he's worthy of it
So
right now, especially with all the controversy with Darren Peterson. And don't get me wrong, like I live streamed that game, BYU versus Kansas, and Darren Peterson he's such a good talent, he's such a good player, but yeah, it's reasonable to question like his kind of like his love of, maybe not love of the game, but more so like his willingness,
commitment to the game.
commitment. Because it's like, I understand how you want, like, your ultimate goal is to play at the next level, but when is that ever going to be enough? Like, all right, you're going to make it to the next level, and then all of a sudden you're just going to like start playing hard now and like wanting to like play, even though you might have some knick-knack injuries or whatever. Like, or are you going to be like, oh, it's regular season, I don't really care. Like, I don't, like, you turn into a Kawhi type player. It's like, I don't only care about the playoffs. And it's like, well, if you don't play in the regular season, you're not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and like how many games is a college basketball season? Like 35 regular season
Yeah.
games?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's more than an NBA season is more than double that. I mean, do all the NBA players play double? No, I mean, we're seeing with this whole 65 game minimum in the NBA, some players that might become ineligible for, awards and all NBA teams. So, regardless, 65 games is still close to, if not more than double the amount of games college basketball players are playing. They're traveling more, just more strain on your body. So, yeah, I think it's still up in the air. I agree with Mike that Darren Peterson, you watched when they played BYU, was potentially 1 versus 2, and Darren Peterson kind of wiped the floor with him, but for one half because he couldn't play the second half.
Yeah, so that's a big concern. I mean, I will say, all Darren Peterson needs to do is have several good games, in the conference tournament as well as in March Madness. Go past a couple of rounds to the Sweet 16 at least, and I think he could easily become number one again. He just kind of has to prove people wrong now, which hopefully he steps up to the plate.
Yeah, most definitely left to be seen.
All right, let's shift gears a little bit to the NBA. NBA has been super interesting. With all the trades kind of going through, you have this last stretch where teams are fighting for the playoffs. And I think it's a really interesting time. I don't know if you want to do like East versus West or East and West picks for who's going to come out of both conferences. I was thinking we do that and award predictions. Which one do you want to do first?
We can go East versus West.
All right. You want to pull up the standings and share?
Yeah. Just the regular standings?
Yeah. All right, starting with the Eastern Conference. East has gotten a lot more interesting since the trade deadline. Obviously, the biggest news was James Harden going to the Cavs. And they were 5-0 at one point, and then they played the OKC Thunder. I think that was a good humbling moment for them, playing. Granted, it was in OKC, but still, no Shea, no J-Dub. You're essentially just playing against like Kaysen Wallace, Lou Dort, and Isaiah Hartenstein as your main players. Of course, their bench players are really good too, but that was kind of disappointing to see. But I think there's really only 4 contenders to win the East, in my opinion. And I think obviously it's very clear because it's the top 4 teams in the East. All the other teams are kind of pretenders. I still somewhat have hope for the Orlando Magic, but with injuries and just, I think they have a good squad. They're just not playing very well right now. So I think they're a couple years away. And also they might have to do something about Paolo Banchero.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would agree too. West is probably similar. Like top 4 teams are really the only contenders. Might go a little bit deeper, but the one team that I would think is a dark horse, I guess it's always kind of a dark horse, and it's kind of contingent on health, is of course like the Philadelphia 76ers. Like the Mavs, we can say lucked into jumping up in the lottery and grabbing VJ Edgecombe at number 3. It's been an absolutely superstar. Currently missing Paul. What are we going to call him?
Spike.
Banned substances P. Serving a 25 game. Pushing the P. 25 game suspension for using banned substances. He isn't the player he used to be. Could still definitely contribute. So obviously Tyrese Maxey is probably the best player. Best player also meaning availability, because when Joel is on the court, he definitely could be, if not is, the best player for the Sixers. It's just a matter of health. But yeah, I'd agree. Pretty much 4-horse race. And who is impressing you the most? Who would you feel most comfortable putting your hard-earned USD on to come out of the East?
This is a tough one. I believe the Cavs are currently the favorite. Is it on Kalshi? Who's going to win the East?
Yeah.
Let me pull that up real quick. As searching it, and it doesn't pop up.
I would say like list them 1 through 4 in terms of like confidence level.
Yeah, I mean, confidence level. This is a tough one because they're all like very close in my opinion. I will say probably number 3. Or, I mean, sorry, number 4. Let me start off with that. Number 4, I would probably put the Knicks. And by no means do I think like they're like, I wouldn't be surprised, if they come out of the East or make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. But from what I've seen so far, their team is kind of it's tough to win with Jalen Brunson, and I've told Spencer this. Maybe they can make it out of the East. I don't think they could win a championship. Just like when your best player is like a 6'3" point guard who has to have the ball in his hands all the time and just shoots a bunch of shots and isn't like, he can pass and he can create for others, but that's not his game. His game is to score the basketball, and to have a 6'3" point guard be able to do that isn't really a great defender on the other end. At least with when you have like guys like Luca that are primary ball handlers, James Harden, that are primary ball handlers and like to score the basketball. I'd say they're better contributors than Jalen Brunson, and they're just bigger, so even if they have a bigger guy on them, their post defense is actually pretty decent versus when Jalen Brunson gets switched onto a big, they just post him up and he can't do anything about it. So he's much more of a liability on the defensive end. So I would put Knicks at 4th for the 4th best chance to win the East, in my opinion, for those reasons. And then obviously the absence of OG Anunoby with his injury. It's hard with the Knicks because you just have one of their main guys be out, and they have some good role players, but they can't really fill the void. Like missing OG hurts them really bad right now. So starting off with 4, the Knicks. Then 3, this is a tough one, but I would have to agree. I would probably put the Celtics just because I really like the Celtics, how they're constructed right now. But the big question, and it's a big if, and I wouldn't bet my money on it, is like, 1, if Jason Tatum returns, and 2, like, what is he going to look like when he returns? And if especially coming off an Achilles, it's usually the second season after the Achilles and an ACL, you start playing more like normal. So he's just a big question mark, and I think that's too much volatility. So that's why I'd put the Celtics at 3. But other than that, I think they have probably like the best coach in the league, and Joe Mazzulla right now with the Celtics. And they have too many question marks. Jason Tatum, and they have a bunch of like role players, but how are those role players going to play in the playoffs? And, like, you probably know what you're going to get out of Jaylen Brown, but Peyton Pritchard, he's played well, but is going to be able to be consistent in the playoffs when things start slowing down. So I would put 3 for Boston Celtics. 2, just because of the inexperience, I'll put the Detroit Pistons. I really like the Pistons. They're very close to number 1, but I think experience-wise, they don't really have anyone on their squad that has that playoff experience. I really like their coach, JB Bickerstaff. I don't think he should have ever gotten fired from Cleveland. I've liked him since he was in his assistant days with Houston, with James Harden. So I really like JB Bickerstaff. I like how this roster is built out. They have a bench mob who plays like the bad boy Pistons. They played last night, and it was literally like it was like Danish Jenkins, Karis LeVert, Ron Holland, Paul Reed, and someone else. Literally just like kind of like no-name guys, but they were just like all hustling, play really good defense, and they were stopping the Spurs like 4 or 5 straight possessions. So I like that squad, how they're built. I like Cade, but the inexperience bothers me. So that's why I go Cleveland Cavaliers number 1. I know they're the betting favorite, but I think they're the favorite for a reason. Is you bring in James Harden, that brings a different dynamic to their squad, and then of course Donovan Mitchell's the scorer that he can be, and he doesn't really have to focus on facilitating as much. And if he gets double teamed, then he passes it to Harden, who's probably going to knock down a 3 or throw a lob to like Mobley or Allen. And they have a lot of really good role players too, and we still really haven't seen Max Strus yet, who we know is a sharpshooter that hasn't really played that much. So I'd go Cavs number 1.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about this too, especially then listening to your reasoning. I think I'm pretty similar. I definitely have Knicks at 4. I texted you this last week. Obviously, have always little overreactions when um, teams that you placed your hard-earned USD on just decide to poop the bed. Um, I don't even think I played the Knicks necessarily, but when they played Detroit this last week and got absolutely obliterated, I think they've been swept in the season series 3-0 to the Pistons. Um, Saying Jalen Brunson is 6'3" is probably generous. He's probably closer to 6'1" or 6'2". And for me, we've just seen this story over and over the last 2 years. I think back-to-back years losing in the playoffs to the Indiana Pacers. People finally came around to realize that the Indiana Pacers are a good team, but when they're, I think, probably favorites in both series. And I just feel like the other three teams are significantly better. Like you said, obviously there are questions about Jason Tatum. Uh, when he'll come back, I don't think it's a matter of if. I think it's pretty obvious he will be coming back this season. But when he comes back and how he integrates into the team, that's been overperforming to everyone's surprise. Yeah, I want to. I think I probably will have Cleveland right now. Their loss to OKC without J-Dub and Shea on Sunday was pretty concerning. I know Mobley was on a minutes restriction. They're still missing some players. Max Strus hasn't played the entire season, and he's definitely a contributor, spacing the floor. So yeah, right now I think I would probably agree, but the more and more the season goes by, the more and more I like Detroit. I know we said we were going to talk about votes, but I was going to text you before the show even started. Like, am I crazy for putting some money on Cade Cunningham to win MVP? Like,
Oh, we'll get to that. And I already put money on it several months ago, and it's turning out to work out pretty well for me right now.
I know, like
And I
early
still
on
think
the
there's
season,
value in it as well, and we'll talk about it.
yeah. So my concern is just what if Cade's not scoring his normal 25 or 30 points, where else are you going to get offense from? And that's just a concern for me. All the other three teams, Boston, New York, and the Cavs, have more consistent, reliable scoring threats. And in the playoffs, the game slows down, defense tightens, and who's going to be able to create shots and score baskets for their team? So yeah, I think I would agree. Cleveland, Detroit, Boston, and Knicks. And yeah, you can clip this. The New York Knicks will not make it out of the second round of the NBA playoffs this year.
Clip that. And Stephen A. Smith agrees with us.
So yeah, like I said, I already touched on the 76ers, and I think everyone else is kind of just going to be sacrificed in the first round. Whoever wins, looks like they still have, well, Chicago, thankfully, not to go into our wins losses draft, but they've lost 9 straight. Looks like they will not be attending their annual play-in tournament. Looks like Charlotte has taken their place. So any of those 4 teams, yeah, 2 of them will obviously be eliminated in the playoff play-in tournament, and then they'll just be sacrificed to Detroit and whoever's a 2 seed.
I would love to see a Charlotte Detroit first round. I think that could be pretty exciting.
Yeah, and that's probably how it would be shaping out. The only way they make the playoffs is, I don't know if they can make up 4 games on Miami. They had a huge run to just be in this situation, being at the bottom of the standings. To make up 4 games with 24, 26 games left in the season, it's going to be tough. So they're probably, if they're going to make the playoffs, it's going to be an 8 seed, and that'll definitely be a fun matchup.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the Western Conference, where this one's a little bit more cloudy, if I had to say so myself. And it's crazy. If you look at OKC, like they're on pace to win like close to 80 games. But they kind of fell off the track. Falling off the track is kind of crazy to say when they're 44-14, but like their dominance, if you think of like the Pistons are only 2 games behind them for the #1 overall seed, which is crazy to think about because it's like everyone's talking about how great the OKC Thunder are and how awesome Shea is. And we'll talk about that when we talk about MVP awards, but obviously they're in clear. Well, I mean, even the Spurs are only a handful of games behind them, and the Spurs are red hot right now after beating the Detroit Pistons last night and kind of handily. When Wemby's healthy, Wemby's doing his thing. The Spurs team is hard to beat. I hate to say it, but I want to. As of right now, I really like what I see from OKC and San Antonio, but all the other teams is just kind of like a question mark. Like, I wouldn't, just because they're the rest of the 6 teams that would make the playoffs are kind of, I guess, the bottom 2 seeds, like the 7 and 8 seed, are going to get sacrificed for sure. But seeds 3 through 6, I think, are all very similar and they're all very interchangeable, as you can see with the records.
Yeah, most definitely. I don't know if we would want to do like a top 6. We can if you want. I was gonna say just keep it to a top 4. I think, yeah, 1 and 2 are pretty locked in with Oklahoma City and San Antonio. So it's kind of, who are those last 2 teams that you feel confident in? Call me crazy, but
I know what you're going to say.
No, maybe you don't. I think the Minnesota Timberwolves are the number 3 team in the West.
Oh, really? I was thinking you were going to say the Nuggets.
Once again, recency bias, pissed off bias because they lose to the G League Warriors. But I mean, you pointed it out when we were texting back and forth, like the Nuggets are not the same team without Aaron Wiggins. They rely too heavily on Aaron Wiggins to shore up their defensive.
Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, who did I say?
Aaron Wiggins.
Aaron Wiggins. Aaron Wiggins from Oklahoma City. Hooper. But Aaron Gordon. They were also missing Peyton Watson on Sunday against the G League Warriors. But still, no excuse for Brandon Pozinski to look like Steph Curry in the fourth quarter, shooting these teardrop floaters that the ball's over the shot clock, just swishing in. But I just feel like Minnesota has had Denver's number these last couple of years. I don't know if you remember when we went to Vegas this last November, and you and our good friend Nate thought I was crazy. I still, if I was a Lakers GM and Minnesota called me and they were willing to, trade me Anthony Edwards for Luka Doncic, I would definitely have a meeting about it, just because I love Anthony Edwards. I love just his swagger, his confidence in himself. You can say he's MJ's love child, but is he like a Kawhi Leonard, Jaylen Brown on the defense side of the ball? No, he still has his limitations, but he definitely gives more effort and is less of a cone than my guy Luka Doncic on my Lakers. And Rudy Gobert is just super valuable when playing teams like the Denver Nuggets or even Chet Holmgren, just botting him up. I know Chet's going to space the floor, and that's not where Rudy plays, but even against Şengün with the Rockets and Wemby. So the resurgence of the center position has been so crucial. I really like Minnesota Timberwolves, and my 4th team would be the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. It's just hard to see. I mean, the Lakers had a really great start to the season, but after that game against, obviously, like recency bias, they played the Celtics on Sunday, and in LA, Celtics versus Lakers. Lakers are finally healthy. They got Reeves back, and they just kind of pooped the bed. And they're not great on defense, but they can sure score baskets, and they couldn't even do that against the Celtics team, which, I mean, I haven't looked at the numbers. I do want to say Celtics are probably one of the better defensive teams in the league, but still, it's like when they hold you under 100 points, it's pretty disappointing, and you're at home. So the Lakers, I think, personnel wise, just that they don't have enough.
You can kind of just see it, in this ESPN shared screen, like all the teams are green point differential, but one of them sticks out like a sore thumb, and that's my Lakers have a negative point differential despite being 12 games over 500. And it's not to be seen, to the Lakers' point, they haven't really been healthy the entire season to gel and like show what they're capable of. But I just feel like the defensive liability and especially the lack of a competent center. I'm talking to you, DeAndre Ayton. It will just prove to be our demise in the playoffs.
Yeah, dude, there's a couple where it was like, I'm like, dunk the ball, you're like 7-1, and he like does this weak little layup and he just like misses it.
Yeah. I'm just like, prove me wrong, because we would have to, I think we lose to any of those teams, 3 through 6, and we're not going to catch the Spurs. So there's a good chance we don't even make it out of the first round, but I feel like our ceiling is second round, and Charles Barkley and Kenny Smith agree with me.
Yeah, I just don't know what to think about. Like, my opinion on the Nuggets. I share that same like thinking with you. If they don't have Aaron Gordon, I don't think they're that great of a team. Jokic is awesome and he can win you several games, but Aaron Gordon's your glue guy to kind of get you past the second round and into the conference championship as well. Houston Rockets, I feel like, I know KD is awesome and he's like a first ballot Hall of Famer, top 75 team, but if he's still your best player at like how old is he? Like 36, 37? Like, I think that's kind of a cause for concern. Like, even the Lakers, it's like LeBron's not your best player, it's Luka. So when a 37-year-old is your best player, granted it's Kevin Durant, like they have like a solid team, but it's just a bunch of role players. So I question their ability to score. And in the playoff, I would trust the Lakers honestly more than the Rockets, because I would trust the Lakers' ability to score the basketball when you need to.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that would be the one team that I'd feel most confident with the Lakers beating. So that would necessitate, and that's how I honestly would love the standings to shake out. Some combination that has us playing the Rockets and Minnesota playing Denver in the first round, because that's always fireworks. But even how it's presently constituted, that 3-6 KD versus Ant. KD is Ant's idol, who he looked up to coming into the league. I know he punked him. What was it? Last year or 2 years ago when he was on the Suns.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty sweet. Swept him, I believe. But so you would put him in the same spot: Oklahoma City, San Antonio, Minnesota, Denver?
I think so, yeah.
And I know we didn't really touch on the Eastern Conference, but who of those 4 teams would you feel like are going to come out and be the 7 and 8 seed for the Western Conference? Because I feel like it's a lot more interesting than the Eastern Conference. Like, Charlotte would be fun, but Miami, I don't know who else is in there. The Hawks and one other team, but these teams are kind of interesting. Who do you think are going to come? Who are the 2 teams out of the?
I think I kind of like the Suns and then the Blazers, and that's just more so. I think the Blazers have interesting pieces. Like, obviously, first time All-Star Denny Avdia. They have a plethora of big guys: Donovan Clingan, Robert Williams III, if he's ever healthy, and then Young Hansen, and they still have like Shaden Sharp. They have some interesting pieces. Not the most well put together team, but they got some nice young talent. The Warriors, it's more of like how low I am on the Warriors to, be able to win games. So I'd say Phoenix and Portland.
Yeah, I like Portland. Once again, not to beat a dead horse, but was surprised when you took their losses in our draft. I want to pick the Clippers, partially because I picked their wins, but I just don't know what direction they're going. There's just been smoke about them handing down a suspension or some punishment for the
Yeah.
Clippers and their tree planting service with Kawhi. But yeah, just like the Knicks, I'm very, very bearish on the Warriors. And clip this one too. I don't think the Warriors are going to make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, nor should they, because Phoenix and Portland would put up a way better fight to OKC than the Warriors. Warriors would get destroyed.
Yeah, and it seems like Phoenix has a 5-game lead on the 9 and 10 seed, so I think they're pretty much locked into having 2 shots to make the playoffs. And losing Dylan Brooks this last week does hurt their chances. People want to clown Dylan Brooks, but I love his game. I'd love him to be on the Lakers. He's exactly what you want in today's NBA. 3-and-D, and gives you that grit and toughness that a lot of teams lack. I think he's supposed to miss a month, so should be left to be seen how they fare up. And even Devin Booker's health has been kind of wishy-washy this season. So I mean, that's Eastern West. Want to transition to awards? I know you were excited about that.
Yeah. I have it pulled up here. We eventually need to get sponsored by Kalshi.
Don't go showing your position now. You don't need to be audited.
I'm not logged in right now. But MVP winner, we have Shea is the overwhelming favorite with 56%. Jokic, which honestly, in my personal opinion, I have no idea why he's second right now. I know there's the whole game thing that's lowered his value, but still, even then, since he got hurt, the Nuggets production and their capability to win games surprisingly hasn't gone down. I know Jokic is all-time great player, but the fact that he was still second and MVP ladder as well as betting odds I think it's a very disrespectful for these other players, especially guys like Cade, even Wemby, and then especially Jaylen Brown. So I'm still very surprised that Jokic is a close second, or not necessarily a close second. Shea's an overwhelming favorite, but Jokic still second is kind of mind-boggling in my opinion. But obviously, I can understand why people think Shea is the favorite and why he is the favorite. Best player on the best team. So that's been for a long time. That's been one of the kind of potential categories you could place MVP. It's people like to vote MVP as the best player on the best team, which I think is valid. But ever since the OKC has fallen off, granted Shea has gone down with injuries, so that could have played a little part into it. Not as much as people think, in my opinion, but they're only have the top seed in the entire NBA by 2 games. So, and with Shea kind of, health wise not doing great, I shared a story. I can't remember if you shared it to me or if I saw it on Instagram, but it was talking about different players and how many games they have eligibility left for. And maybe we can get into that first. Is your thoughts on that 65 game eligibility criteria for awards?
Yeah, I mean, I think I like it just because I think I was on the NBA Reddit and they were just talking. It was during an All-Star break, and this one guy posted that his son was a big Luka Doncic fan, and they tried to go see Luka 3 times in person. They're currently 0 for 3 in terms of buying tickets and hoping that his son can see his favorite player, and Luka sitting out for injuries or rest or whatever it may be. I'm a big proponent. I feel like the NBA needs to shorten their season. 82 games just seems like too much, especially in today's league where the constant running, the pace of play has just gone up tremendously. So I don't feel like 65 games is out of the question. Obviously, if you shorten the season, that should also be adjusted as well. But I believe I was listening to a podcast last week, and the guy said that no team, or at least 90% of teams, have never had a player, their best player, not play 70% of the games and win the championship. And I thought that was super interesting. That kind of coincides with the MVP. Like, just in terms of teams meshing, being able to play together, which is a concern for the Celtics because, I mean, but also a debate who is their best player, Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. But I like it. And I think it's going to be interesting how the NBA looks at this. If Jokic, I think he can only miss one more game, and Shea's like 6 or 8 games.
Yeah.
How this?
Oh, you go ahead. I'm just pulling up.
How this helps, or how this changes the NBA's vision on games played, or even that 65 game minimum threshold.
Yeah, I have the post right here. Jokic is only 1 game away or remaining eligible. I don't know why they have Devin Booker on here, honestly. No disrespect to him, but he hasn't really done anything this year. Wemby has 4 games remaining for eligibility. Luka has 5 games, and then Shea has six games. Ant even has 7 games.
Yeah, so it even goes beyond just MVP voting. It's just all NBA. Like, what are those teams going to look like if those players miss those games that would disqualify them? Like, are we going to have Alfred Şengün as All NBA second team?
Yeah,
Like,
because it applies to all NBA awards as well. This isn't just like MVP, most improved, expanded of the year. This includes all NBA. And I saw another post that was like, man, someone was complaining. It's like, we're going to have guys like Norman Powell be like all NBA. Well, like, yeah. And I can understand where the criticism comes into play, but I also agree, like, the best ability is availability. I was talking about the Derek Peterson situation. I think it's the same in the NBA. So if you want to win the award, and if it means that much to you, and especially all these guys, all NBA is like, it affects their money that they make. And you know how to motivate players real quick is tie stuff to their money, and they'll play.
Yeah. So what, if you don't mind me asking, what percentage did you get in on Cade Cunningham? Because I remember
Go ahead.
Yeah, because I remember specifically you talking about, a little sprinkle on Cade Cunningham and maybe even Jaylen Brown too. So I know for sure you have Cade Cunningham.
Yeah.
Maybe even have Victor Wembanyama, but yeah, go ahead.
I did have Victor Wembanyama at the beginning of the year. I actually sold that position because he was missing a ton of games, and I figured, I'm like, I don't know if he's going to be eligible, and he is really close to not being eligible, so I don't have that position anymore. Maybe it was dumb to sell it. Maybe it wasn't. It is what it is. But my 2 big value plays, because these guys I don't even think are even close to, not meeting the 65 game requirement, and it's Cade Cunningham and Jaylen Brown. And yeah, many weeks ago, I've been saying like, hey, good value, good buys, opportunities. Right now, Jaylen Brown, I bought at plus 3,233. It's currently, his odds are 2,400. Sorry, I don't know what that is in percentage. Let me change it real quick. So I bought Jaylen Brown at 3%, and but around there. So not a ton of price change with that. But Cade Cunningham was the big one. I bought him at 2%, and now he's a 16% chance to win. And especially with Jokic, which everyone knows, like, Jokic doesn't really care about the regular season. So I could easily see him missing, 1 more game and not being eligible. So
yeah, and I just feel like, I mean, it better. You know it just as well as I do that MVP voting in any sports narrative based, whether it's Aaron Judge against Cal Raleigh or Matthew Stafford versus Drake May, like narrative does come into factor. And I just like Jokic has won 3 MVPs. They're always looking to propel the next star. Shea's only won one. It's missing a lot of games. And Cade's the #1 seed in the East. And like you said, a couple games out of best record in the NBA. I was looking into it, trying to figure out like, should I buy Shea or should I buy Cade Cunningham? Because if you scroll back up to the graph, I think Shea probably topped out at what, 75%?
Yeah,
80%.
Yep.
Seems like a good value play. I mean, and I because I went and looked at kind of their stats, and yeah, Cade has a lot of the narrative, but Shea's averaging his over 30 points a game, shooting 55% from the field as a guard. It's pretty insane. And it's just you can't have too much of a recency bias. I know he's missed some games, but I think people forget that they started the season off 24-0. Like we got to factor in the whole 82 game schedule. So I'm still deciding. I feel like you could probably buy Cade even at 15, 16%. And I think by season end, probably at least 20, 25%. I think he'll pass Jokic in terms of just overall odds. But I'm leaning towards just picking Shea up at this 55%. Especially
I agree. If you're on Shea, I think this is a good opportunity to buy in because I think this is probably going to be one of the lowest. Obviously, assuming that he doesn't get closer to missing, the required games he needs to play, which he's like 6 away. Which honestly, with how many games are left, the chance that he misses all 6 games, you would have to have some sort of like injury, So as long as he stays healthy, I think he's pretty safe to meet that threshold.
I think he's currently still sitting out with his abdomen injury, but 6 games is essentially like 2 weeks, and I think he's probably like
a couple games
less than a week out. And I think that's important to him, winning that MVP. So at the same time, like I think Oklahoma City is a smart organization, and if that abdomen really is bad, they will sit him, but I don't put it past them to have him play like 15, 20 minutes a game.
Just to meet the threshold. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think this could be a really good value play if you're on Shea. I think the big determinant in this would be if the Pistons can, get that #1 overall seed in like NBA as far as record wise. I think that's a big determinant of Cade being a lot closer to Shea, because Cade obviously is like by far the best player on his team, and he's not only doing it from like a points perspective, but assists, rebounds. He kind of does it all. So if the Pistons finish, this is the way that I think Cade could actually win the MVP. Will he? I don't really know. The odds are obviously against him. I think if the Pistons can finish the season with a better record than the Thunder, I think he has. I don't think he necessarily would be the favorite per se, but I think it'll be pretty split between Shea and Cade at that point.
Yeah, and it'll just be another feather in the cap for the U.S. beating Canada, because Shea's from Canada.
I will say another value play is Jaylen Brown as well. I know he's only at 3% at the moment, but what he's done with the Celtics, I'm a big like Jaylen Brown fan and big proponent of him like being higher up on the MVP list than he is right now. I mean, all respect to like Jokic and Wemby. I think they're really good players. I guess I could make the case for Wemby being ahead of him, just what he's done with the Spurs, and the record that they have. But saying Jaylen Brown was like, of course, he gets help from Peyton Pritchard a little bit, but he kind of single-handedly keeping the Celtics team alive when you have like an all NBA first team player down. Like none of these other players have had an all NBA first team down for the whole season and still be top 4 seed in your conference. So I think he needs to get more props for MVP, in my opinion. But I think when eventually Jokic is going to sit out a game and not meet the eligibility requirement. And I think Jaylen Brown's price is going to go up. So I think Jaylen Brown's actually a really good value play right now. as far as not necessarily winning the MVP, but for him to easily go from 3% even to like 6%, maybe even 10% if they keep on winning.
Yeah, most definitely.
Right.
Any other awards you wanted to cover?
I
Or
mean,
is really
Coach of the
just
Year is like somewhat locked up right now. It's like
yeah,
JB
JB
Bickerstaff,
Bickerstaff's kind of got it in a chokehold.
which fair enough. You know, Joe Mazzulla, I believe, has won it before. I know Mitch Johnson with the Spurs can be in the conversation as well. But JB Bickerstaff, what he's been doing, what he was able to do with the Pistons, I think is awesome. So I haven't really been paying attention to Sixth Man of the Year. I don't even
I think
know.
Nas Reed is a pretty heavy favorite.
I mean, 40%, you know. But I agree. Like, this might actually be a kind of a bargain play. Like, Jaime Jaquez, I feel like he's just like hasn't been consistent playing, in my opinion. Like, he's great. I love me some Triple J. You know, he's Tortilla Clay from back in UCLA, BYU when they put each other in the tournament. I'll never forget that. But I don't know. I could low-key see Nas Reed. I haven't heard, like, I've watched Keldon Johnson. He's pretty good, but I think Nas Reed is like by far.
Has he won Sixth Man of the Year before? I think he has.
I don't know. Let me look it up real quick. But yeah, I low-key might think that might be a value play. Like, get him at plus money.
Peyton Pritchard won last year.
Yeah. And Peyton Pritchard's starting majority of this year, so that's why he's obviously not in the conversation.
Yeah, Nas Reed
Is
won
it
it.
crazy to me, or is it like Nas Reed like an auto buy right here?
Yeah, Nas Reed won it
injuries,
2 years ago.
Huh?
Nas Reed won it 2 years ago.
2 years ago? Dang, it's actually crazy. 2 years and he's still on the bench. Well, I mean, that's what happens when Rudy Gobert is starting over you.
And Cat.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I'm curious who these other names are. Oh, what the heck? Luke Kennard? Why is Luke Kennard on here? Wait, can they
there
have...
probably wasn't a ton of action because they have
can there be
13%. Yeah, I was looking too because you mentioned on our agenda awards, and I was like, well, what other awards like make sense? And I was like, oh yeah, Six Men. Like, I thought Keontae wasn't starting, but I guess he is.
Yeah,
like Keontae George from Utah. So yeah, I don't know. I just don't see Keldon Johnson beating Nas Reed for Sixth Man of the Year. So
yeah, because it's like, yeah, if you just look at strictly production, you know, yeah, I feel like this is an auto buy for Nas. I mean, it's gotten peak at, I mean, it's been hovering around 40%. Get him at plus money, dude. Like, he's kind of been, it seems like the favorite most of the year. Oh wow, Tyco winners. I mean, I feel like there's probably not that much liquidity. I don't know. I'll have to do a little bit more research on that, but I want to say, like, based off the eyeball test, I feel like that's an auto buy for Nas. My only concern would be, like, I know he's kind of banged up and has had some injuries lately, so I don't know how many games, you know, he's close to being at that threshold for eligibility. That'd be my only concern.
Cool. Right. Anything else you wanted to cover?
Is there like comeback player of the year or something, or most improved, right?
Yeah.
Jalen Johnson, I think.
Seems like a runaway.
Well, he spiked up right here. How long ago was that? Yeah, I think he's, yeah, very much the favorite to win most improved. Like, I wonder if someone fell off because of injury. Because all of a sudden you just saw both Jalen's, you know, Jalen on Jalen crime. just jump up. I bet you either someone got hurt or someone became ineligible. Because I feel like that one's like Jalen Duren's been awesome. I guess also this somewhat feeds into if the Pistons can make it to the number 1 overall seed and Jalen Duren just kind of dominating like he has been. I think he can make a case, but I think from a pure numbers perspective, it's Jalen Johnson.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I guess the only other one that I saw was a clutch player of the year, and Anthony Edwards was like at like 40%. I feel like that one's pretty obvious as well. Like I'd vote Anthony Edwards, or I guess basically even odds.
Even odds.
So
yeah,
that's a finicky one, and obviously the volume's pretty low, but it seems like it makes the most sense. Like I can see Tyrese Maxey, but I don't know. Philly doesn't have the same record as the Timberwolves, and I feel like the Timberwolves will end up with a significantly better record.
Yeah, this one's kind of weird too because it's like specifically clutch plays. I mean,
yeah, you have like Alex Caruso there. Like as much as I love Alex Caruso, like they're not going to give clutch player of the year to Alex
like low
Caruso.
key, I would put like Cooper Flag in there. What's the rookie of the year?
Yeah,
like
he's done a lot of clutch things, but they just haven't materialized to wins.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, rookie of the year 70%. Man, I should have bought in when
what, like the first couple games when people started panicking?
Yeah, I think this is the
that's all the offseason.
Yeah, this is the beginning of the season. 37. Obviously, yeah, like whoever had Con Knipple, man, they made money. You bought him at like 2%. Woo. That 32% now. I think Con actually has like a really good case. If anything, I would say there's value on Con Knipple right here. Like, I think it's closer than people think, especially if Coop still like, I don't know what he's played majority of games, but he's kind of been out recently. So don't be surprised if Con Knipple, makes a run at least like to 40% or something. I'd say statistically, Con probably is having a better season than Coop, but I think narrative wise, Cooper like runs away with it.
Yeah, I mean, Con hasn't had like a 50-point game like Cooper Flag has, and just eyeball test, like Cooper Flag is the better player, and obviously Con's contributions
but say like
have
the Hornets make the
contributed.
playoffs.
Yeah, I think they'd probably have to be a 7 or 8 seed to justify it. Like before the play-in starts, like being a 9-10 seed, even if they make the playoffs, they vote before the season ends. So
yeah, I wouldn't bet on this, but just interesting food for thought. All right, is there anything else we really wanted to talk about? I mean, we talked about our thoughts on the 70-65 game rule, draft, big board. I mean, I know Spencer isn't really following college as much as I am. NBA. But let's see. I'm just pulling the one up from ESPN right now. ESPN always gives me trouble loading when I'm streaming. So we'll see. Oh, it doesn't. I wish I actually had it as like a big board instead of like a list. Anyway, maybe we can talk about that next time or something. Oh, I guess we have. No, it's.
Yeah, I probably have to bounce in the next couple of minutes. So
yeah, we can just talk about that next time. But yeah, the draft order and stuff. Like, I would love, I think AJ's deservingly probably at this point goes number 1 overall. If he somehow drops to like 2 or 3, the Mavs could have a chance of getting him. Him in a Mavs uniform would be awesome. But I will say I would settle for, I mean, if we could, Darren Peterson, I think he would be great. Cooper Flag. Worst case scenario, you get like the number 7 pick or something. Get like Michael Brown from Louisville.
Or Richie.
Richie, pick him up in the second. I actually think he
Seven.
could be.
Pick
He
him up
could
at
be a
7th overall.
Bro, that'd be wild if someone Utah Jazz select Richie Saunders. All the Jazz team like fans would be like, "What are we doing?" It's like we don't need another point guard.
Yep, just trying to get the all-white team.
Oh, the Mavs, dude. The Mavs create the all-white team. Anyway, all right. We'll wrap at that. Anything you're looking forward to betting wise in the next couple days?
I was going to ask you your favorite college game tonight and your favorite NBA game tonight, because I think somebody said there's like 65 total games tonight, and if you can't win one, close your accounts.
Oh yeah, if you can't win one, that's like very concerning for sure. Let me look. Yeah, honestly, I haven't really looked at the.
Well, I'll ask you BYU tonight at home versus UCF minus 12.5.
I don't like that line. I know UCF is pretty bad away from home, but still, yeah.
They're 19-7. We're 20.
I would play UCF honestly, but I'm not betting that game. You look at the Steam, like it opened at 9.5, and now it's at 12.5. I'm not touching that game. If anything, it's a close game, and then even then, like even if it's a close game or the UCF is up at halftime, like BYU is going to get a terrible price. So
yeah, so I agree, but BYU tends to give me an opening that I like, and you gotta usually roll with your alma mater unless they're playing.
Just hammer it and just like hope they win by like 20 or like 30.
I'm just saying like they usually give you an opening where you can get a better line or even possibly money line. I don't know if he'll get all the way down to that, but like I said, you always got to roll with your alma mater unless they're playing Texas Tech in football. Then you got to fade them. But the other game I like tonight is the New York Knicks at the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cavs favored by 4.5.
Cavs take care of business.
I am off the Knicks train, so buy as much Cavs as you want.
That would be interesting. Yeah, I might be on that. I'm looking at the other games.
4.5 is tricky. The other quick game, it's not exactly. Me and Mike had a little conversation about watching good teams, but Golden State playing against the Pelicans tonight. I think Golden State was home. Maybe they're not, but I think they're only favored. They're only favored by 1.5.
I would not touch the Warriors.
Yeah, Pelicans have no incentive to lose. Like they don't own their draft pick, so they just came off a huge win against the Denver Nuggets. No need to remind me, but do your due diligence, and it could be an interesting underdog play or Warriors take care of business.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the lines, and I feel like I don't know. There's not a ton I like, honestly. Maybe Mavs, Dallas. It's the fact that they don't have Cooper Flag, but they're still favored by 1.5 against the Nets. The Nets are just so bad. But some of these bad teams, they're so like volatile. It's like I don't know what I'm gonna get from them because like who's gonna actually be playing? Like Nets, technically, I don't think really have that many like injuries per se. But what are they gonna play? Like Michael Porter Jr. like 10 minutes or something? Like that could very well happen.
Yeah, I mean those tanking teams are tough. I almost wanted to play Utah minus 14.5 or plus 14.5 against the Rockets last night, and they were down like 20 in the first quarter. Yeah. So, but then sometimes they just win outright, so you just never know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll take a look. Honestly, I'll see what I like. Maybe that Cavs game. Also, there was also Boston versus Phoenix, and Boston was like -5.5 on the road. Boston's been playing really well. Phoenix is kind of like one of those weird teams. I will say Phoenix does play pretty well at home, though. So, yeah, I don't know about that one. But I might ride with you on my Cavs one, though.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's
All right.
it for episode 17. Thanks for
Call
tuning
quits.
in.
Stay responsible. Let's make some money today. Peace.